Donald Trump, he won't actually be sworn in as US President for another 2 months. But I tell you what, he's already rattling the cage of two of the tyrannies that are threatening the world. He's had his first phone call to Russian President Vladimir Putin and warned him already not to step up his war on Ukraine and said, hey, Vlad, the US still has a lot of military assets in Europe, which is a direct threat. Trump has also had 3 calls already with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu discussing how to confront the Iranian Islamist regime that's meanwhile behind many of the attacks on Israel.
In the last few days, I've spoken 3 times with President-elect Donald Trump. These were good and very important conversations, talks that were designed to further tighten the strong alliance between Israel and the US. We see eye to eye the Iranian threat to all its components and the danger posed by it. We also see the great opportunities before Israel in the field of peace and its expansion and in other fields.
Joining me is the Monday political panel, Michael Kroger, former Victorian Liberal President, Stephen Conroy, former Labor Senator and Cabinet Minister. Michael Kroger, I'm so worried, I've been for ages, that Trump will sell out Ukraine, will cut off American aid and weapons and leave Russia a real menace to Europe, holding lots of Ukrainian territory after its invasion. But I've got to say that Trump's threat to Putin at least suggests that if Putin doesn't go along with what Trump wants, Trump could change his mind and Putin could be in a bit of trouble.
So I read Trump's failure to condemn Putin over recent years, where he's been accused of, sidling up to dictators. I read that as his way of negotiating, keeping his options open for dealing with Putin. I mean, he can start with a good relationship with Putin because he hasn't been bagging him. But Andrew, I wouldn't worry too much. I don't think there's any chance at all that he will leave Ukraine to be overrun by the Russians. That would terrify and horrify everyone in the West, particularly anyone in Europe. There's no way he can do that, nor would he do it. So he can't afford to let Putin run through, because then he potentially runs through Poland and other countries. So that isn't going to happen. I presume what will happen is there'll be some ground given to the Russians of the territory they've already taken in exchange for a ceasefire. I think that's really the only way forward.
I'm not sure that is what Ukraine wants, but Stephen, do you share Michael's optimism?
No, it's not what they want.
Look, I'm afraid I don't quite share Michael's optimism. I mean, Putin has, shown an enormous capacity to tickle, Donald Trump's tummy and to make him play fetch with a ball. So I hope that Michael's right, but I don't have any confidence that Michael's right. I mean, I would say, if we're giving up land, if there's a nice little unit apartment block in South Yarra, I think we could sweeten the pot, let Vlad, take a bit of South Yarra where Michael lives, see how he feels about it. But you just can't say, oh, no, the Ukrainians have to give up, a fair substantial part of their economy as well as their sovereign territory.
I think taking the decision out of Ukraine's hands is rather foolish too. It's rather unfair. It's a democracy trying to fight a tyranny. But anyway, to the 2 polls today, Michael, we keep getting told, the polls say Labor's going to lose seats but still win government at the next election. It's almost like a mantra now. But, then it will have to rule with the support of the Greens or the Teals party. But could it in fact lose on these figures and on this trend?
Yeah, it could. And as you know, I've been saying for a couple of months now that Peter Dutton's favourite to win the election. And whilst they're not always right, the betting markets are the best guide to elections. They were completely right in America, by the way, last week. They had Trump winning easily. The betting markets for the first time in the last few days now have Peter Dutton as the clear favourite to win the election, which is a bit of a shock to everyone in the Labor Party. But no, Dutton's favourite to win. I have had him on 72 for a couple of months, as you know. I think he's probably higher than that now. And I think Albanese is in a world of pain because the same issues that apply in America apply here. Cost of living, too much immigration, illegal there, illegal here, but too much immigration, a breakdown of law and order, etc., alienation of the working middle class and the working class. The same issues are basically at play. And Albanese's gone off to Tinseltown. He's off in Hollywood. He couldn't, last year, if you remember, he couldn't wait to get out of Alice Springs. He was almost horrified by having to go there. He couldn't wait to get out to go to the tennis, sit in the front row and drink beer at another A-grade event that he wasn't paying for.
I think the real issue was he didn't want to give Peter Dutton the win and try to fix an unfixable
he could have
problem.
stayed there.
It was just terrible. Look,
he could have done what Abbott did: stay there for days, and make it look as if you're serious, not a 4-hour fly-in, fly-out visit. The optics of that was shocking for Albanese, Andrew.
It was terrible. But Stephen Conroy, the problem with Albanese is already in huge trouble, and I think Donald Trump, by example and specifically on some issues like climate change, like free speech, is going to cause him a lot of grief. Do you agree?
Well, look, I think Michael made some good points. I think the simplest of the Trump messages was, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? And I think that's the potent Peter Dutton takeout. I think the climate change issue is actually a double-edged sword. Because Trump will make it very hard for Dutton and his supporters, and you've just already talked to your last guest about climate change issues, and if they take a rightward step on climate, they risk never being able to get any of those teal seats back. And that teal seats is what's stopping Peter Dutton becoming Prime Minister at the moment on any of those polls. If you look at those polls, in any normal set of circumstances, Labor would be gone. It would be a landslide. We'd be washed from office. But the world is not as it was a few years ago. The Teals exist. And if Peter Dutton starts wandering off too far to the right on climate change, he's got good cover at the moment, but if he just went, right, I agree, we're pulling out, we shouldn't support net zero at all, I think that would make it very hard for him to be able to win those teal seats back. Put them in his column,
I think you put the finger on why Susan McDonald was dancing all around whether they would or wouldn't. I mean, she opened the door to opened the door to reviewing the policy and gave an argument why they should abandon the Paris Agreement, but couldn't bring herself to say that they would in fact do exactly that. So I think you put the finger on. Michael Kroger, Stephen Conroy, thank you both for your time.